Have you seen that this horrible, horrible discourse in the video game industry has returned to us gracefully and maturely? Yellow paint in video games, I know, is a absolute tragedy to behold. In reality, it is difficult to translate one's exact perception into the world of a game. As games are more realistic graphically, it becomes even harder to, do that. And in 3D spaces, directing a player to go one way or the other has persistently been very difficult. And you may have freaking noticed that this has returned. Now you'll see this image. Did it click on it? Okay, just the same page. Thank you. This image is from March of last year, but it is returned again. This one's from October. I'll pull up the image in a bit, but it is returned to us again. Unfortunately, that having yellow paint on things in a video game is actually bad. Well, is it? Well, let's keep going. So this has been sort of a problem, for a very long time. But we can see this type of game design as far back as Portal 2 and even in the original Resident Evil 4. This is from the remake. It's an interesting design choice, but it's not just a design choice, it's a game design challenge. One that has an easy shortcut and one that can also have a more intelligent design philosophy baked into it. But the big question is how do you get a player to do what you want them to do without interrupting gameplay? And in games like Uncharted 4 or Mario Odyssey, they have a very similar open 3D levels, but you don't see a lot of this frickin' crap. Are they just better games than Resident Evil? Well, who's to say, but maybe. Perhaps. But this is mainly due to level designers actually working with QA teams and game testers to make the seamless extension of gameplay extend to the player's interpretation of the world. And how do I know this to be true? Well, you don't just get Uncharted 4 levels. This doesn't just happen. This takes a lot of design. You don't just wing this. And I hate to break it to you, but New Donk City doesn't just happen. It's actually really hard making a level in a video game. It's not, surprisingly not easy. Now, any kid with Mario Maker can throw a bunch of platforms on a line and call that, Super Mario Bros. 3, whatever. But it takes, talent, time, and intent to make something as breathtaking as New Donk City, which everybody universally loved when it came out, not when it got announced for some freaking reason, some wacky reason. I don't know why. Mario Odyssey, Uncharted 4, people love those games. And people love Resident Evil 4, but maybe less so the remake. And I want you to think about, would those two games be better if they had something like this guiding you through the levels? Like, the answer is no. That's stupid. That's very dumb to say that having something like this in a Mario game would be good in any way. Now, it's not entirely fair to compare Mario Odyssey and Uncharted 4 between themselves, but not even unless Resident Evil 4 or the remake. Mario Odyssey is more of a, playground hosting special platforming challenges. There's no direction you have to go. And Nathan Drake has a specific goal in a level that he's trying to accomplish. But all those games and Resident Evil, they all, at the end of the day, require you to get from point A to point B to progress the game. So how does a game designer help the player accomplish that? That is the goal. They want them to win at the end of the day. Hold up. Let's pull up the other. This is just the zoomed in version of the latter screenshot. By all accounts, this is ugly and lazy. And after a few dozen times, I would imagine very immersion breaking. What went wrong here? Like, why did this happen? Why is there yellow paint splattered on this and boxes and crates and windows? Like, why how did we get here? No level or game designer wants this to happen. They want to make cool stuff. They want to implement neat mechanics. They don't want to just throw paint over boxes and call it a day. They'll make a cool level and they'll have cool mechanics, and then allegedly in this game's sense, in this game's case, they gave it to the playtesters and they ran out of ammo and they couldn't find more and they didn't know where to break the windows, and they didn't know they can climb a ladder because they couldn't see it. And ultimately, those are some probably very dumb gamers, very very stupid, very smooth brain. Although we don't know what the game looked like when they first played it. But ultimately, this is a failure of the designers. If you can't make things more clear, then how do you get around the problem that your players can't find a ladder? See here, highlighted in yellow. That's definitely a solution, but what's the better solution? A quick reminder that it's easy to point out that a majority of games have tackled this question and done it well. We are talking about the minority of games. Like people are complaining about too much of this stuff in video games. It doesn't happen that often. If this was happening in more games, then we would be hearing about this every week, not every year. But the solution is you have to teach players what to look out for, both physically in the game space and mechanically. Uncharted 4 has an amazing tutorial teaching players basically that all jutting ledges are climbable and enemies have ammo and guns that you can yoink and use for yourself. I haven't played all the Uncharted games. I hadn't played 4 until very recently. But coupled with the impeccable level design, everything fell into place. I took like multi-week long breaks playing this game, and every time I hopped back in, it was seamless. I never got lost. I never forgot the controls, which is very surprising because it was like also one of my first PlayStation 4 games I played. And it came back beautifully. It was a very well-crafted game. In Mario Odyssey, very much the same way. Right at the gate, it teaches you to throw hats at enemies, kill enemies, jump on enemies, Mario stuff. They don't have to teach you, but sometimes in 3D Mario, you have to learn what cool jumps you can do, what you can craft and combo. And all the Mario Odyssey levels are basically just get to the top point of the level, get some moons along the way, beat the boss, and get to the next level. But you don't feel like you're taught how to play Mario. There's barely a tutorial in a 3D Mario game. Yet, I don't see screenshots of people getting stuck in Mario Odyssey. People going, this is bullshit, what the frick is going on? It's because the game is seamlessly teaching you how to play itself and what to look out for. Like, obviously, like, if freaking, I don't know, in Mario, they didn't teach you that you can throw the cap and jump on it to get a higher boost. If they didn't teach you that, and there was this ledge you couldn't get up unless you did that, then that might be, we might need that might require a paint solution. But you could also just not make that obstacle. You could also put a freaking frog in it, and the frog can jump. That was super cool as hell. But you can show the player that that's something you can do, and then they know that's something you can do, and they're going to be thinking about that, where they can implement that. Whereas a player cannot implement a ladder in Resident Evil 4. The ladder is implemented for the player. It's not Death Stranding, unfortunately. And I 100% believe that the playtesters for Resident Evil 4 Remake could not find the ladders and the ammo right in front of them. I believe that. A majority of gamers are they're very intelligent, very cool people, and also not racist. But they couldn't find the ladder. They would not have done this to the ladder if players couldn't find it. But why would they do that instead of implementing enough ladder technology mechanics at earlier levels to get players to be more familiar and look for the ladder? Why did they do this? Well, the answer is, unfortunately, I hate to break it to everybody, it's usually capitalism. That's kind of where this goes always. This is a remake of a beloved game and a time-honored series, and Capcom doesn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting in the creativity department for this game, Resident Evil 4 Remake. But some things have to change from a GameCube era game to be more consumable and desirable in the modern age. Apparently. I would just play GameCube games all day if I could. So when they encounter such a challenge as players keep dying on low ammo, or they get lost, or they don't know they can break a window, or yada yada yada, it's so much easier to slap a coat of paint on it and call it a day. Whether malicious or not, it saves department time, development time, and ultimately that saves Capcom money, which is what they want. They don't care about making a faithful remake or building off the original title. They want to exploit a masterpiece they own to make quick money, which is a disgusting way to talk about arts, because that's what Resident Evil 4 is. It's a beautiful, fantastic game. And you can see how this snowballs into other games. This is the reason why any Bethesda or Ubisoft title is filled with like quest markers pointing you out exactly where you need to go and what you need to do. And this keeps players engaged so they don't get, or perceived to keep players engaged so they don't think that they get lost. Because they think, and sometimes they're very right, but if a player stops to think how to solve a problem or how to navigate a treacherous area, admittedly, they might quit, and then the game doesn't get played, or it doesn't sell, or bad reviews, and it snowballs into them losing money. And I mean, we've seen that when game companies lose money or make money, they're still going to lay people off. They're still going to cut corners. Horrible, horrible, horrible industry stuff. Capitalism, as I said. And it just keeps getting worse from there. And, if players want to solve a complex problem, then I personally don't think they maybe should be playing, horror survival games or assassin simulators, but that's just me. We have seen more recently a market of people who want to be challenged and not be handheld. Handheld. They don't want to be handheld. I can speak. Elden Ring, which came out, not too long ago, literally has a golden yellow line pointing players where to go. The big differences are it isn't in your face, it's tied to the lore of the world, and it's basically a suggestion if you're stuck. Baldur's Gate 3 just came out, everyone loves it. A full-on crunchy D&D mechanic type of game that doesn't really care too much about explaining all of those mechanics, yet is full of discovery and wonder. And then once you figure out those mechanics, it not knowing them doesn't ruin you immediately, but it can make you better. And slowly on, as you understand the mechanics in the game, that makes you better. That's another different game design. Instead of teaching you everything at once, and then if you master everything, and it's just a flat plateau of skill, you slowly learn all the things that make you better, and it doesn't make the game harder. You make you feel like you're learning it better, which is great. And Baldur's Gate 3 has been getting nonstop praise for almost 8 months. So if that tells you anything about relaying game mechanics in a certain way, maybe that could be one example. When games need to be done quick and consumed quicker, as the industry so eagerly demands, you games like Assassin's Creed. But when you have time for a game to grow and develop and test new things and experiment, you get freaking Pikmin 4, which is a goddamn masterpiece. And I don't know why the world can't be full of Pikmin 4s. Well, I know why. It's because of companies like Capcom and Ubisoft. But one day I hope we can live in that world. So not every game like that is bad. Not every game, I like Skyrim, and it does the point to where to go and do exactly what it tells you to do thing. But that also goes both ways too. Not every game that's free and experimental is perfect. But what I'm getting at is, it's about making good games, because Resident Evil 4 is a good game despite, a little bit of hand-holding. But companies aren't interested in making good games, to the plight of the people who want to do something cool and when they're making them, and to the bane of the dipwads on Twitter who will bring up a year-old freaking controversy, and then I have to talk about it. I have to think about it. And I don't want to think about it because I didn't even play this. I didn't even play Resident Evil 4 Remake. This one's from Final Fantasy 7, the Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I don't even know if this is a real screenshot. It kind of looks photoshopped. But, whatever. It's not the end of the world. It's just, a slightly kind of lazy game design thing. And the people who are complaining about this, I don't know. There are other games to play, and there's definitely lots of experiences you can have that aren't like climbing simulators or looter shooters. There's so many cool things you can do out there, and I just wanted to throw in that.